So yesterday, Justin Gaethje came out and he really put a lot of sunlight on the BMF title, which he is getting ready to fight for. And Justin wasn't positive about it. I mean, if you go and read the piece, or if you saw the headline, if you're aware of what I'm referencing, he wasn't positive towards the belt. And if I was to guess, you gotta understand, this is the guy one victory away. A victory that he thinks he's going to get. It's a match that he asked for. It's important to understand those kinds of things. When you're attempting to guess who's going to win, guys always know who's going to win. They will both pretend it's them, but one of them's doing just that. They're pretending. So then you, the viewer, the bettor, the guy that's going to go put money on it, all you're trying to do is not break down their record or hear about their training camps. You're trying to learn tells. And you're just trying to learn between these two athletes, who do they believe is going to win? They believe the same guy is going to win, right? You got two athletes fighting, they have the same opinion. You're just trying to figure out, do they think it's them or do they think it's this guy? So it's a big deal when I come and tell you that Justin Gaethje asked for the fight. That's a really big clue into trying to figure out who they believe is going to win. And 90+% of the time, they're right. So before you do anything, before you start to break down the striker versus the grappler, and the history says, very greatest helpful clue you could have is, who do they think is going to win? And that's going to be hard, though. You're going to have to watch a lot of interviews. You're going to have to be a real poker player. You're going to have to look for tells. But I share that with you because Gaethje went first. He asked for the fight. Very reasonable that if he asked for the fight against somebody he's already fought, that he believes he could beat him. And a lot of times fights are set up by the organization. More times than not, a fight is set up by the organization. Main events would go into a different category. Or when I say more times than not, well, main event's actually a different algorithm. But on the card where you saw main event, that was the 11th fight of the night on average. There was 10 other fights just that night. Those 10 other fights were made by the promotion that saw contracts and new guys are, let's just match them up. There was no thought, there was no buzz, there was nothing. Guys wonder about promotion. I can't believe they didn't promote me. Well, how many times does a promoter promote something that he thought of? I mean, in all fairness, how many times have you seen a really big fight where a promoter got together and hatched the idea of this guy versus this guy? When it's hatched that way over history, how many of them have you seen that blew up to be really big fights? Versus when two guys found each other, had the media, had the fan base, had the back and forth, then the promoter stepped in and it just kept going, but the flame had already been ignited. I'm just asking you. So here you have Justin Gaethje, who knows a lot about fighting, he knows a lot about main events, he knows a lot about winning, and he knows about championships because he used to be the champion. It appears that he thinks he's going to win the fight. Now, you could equally look to Dustin Poirier, who had a whole bunch of other options, including doing nothing at all because he's been so successful, both competitively and financially. He's always got this something going on with Conor McGregor, a return to the UFC by Nate Diaz. I mean, Dustin Poirier, he's right in the middle of everything cool, and he jumped on the fight and took it. Well, what's that going to mean to you? I'm just asking you, but these are some of the things, if you're a handicapper, you're going to have to ask yourself long before who kicks harder, who goes to the body more often. So, Gaethje comes out, and he didn't like the BMF belt. He's getting ready to fight for it. If he wins, they give this beautiful belt. I mean, it's a special thing. The whole community looks at it. He can keep that around his waist for photos. He can hold it up high. He can do these different things. I mean, basically, then when you get back to the locker room, you toss it somewhere and hope that somebody gets it home for you. I understand. But I'm not talking about the material object. I'm talking about what it represents. I think it's a big deal. I think that his mind would change. But he spoke about it anyway, and that prompted Dan Hooker to come out and speak about the belt. And Gaethje and Hooker both revealed something. They made a reveal deal to the audience. But most didn't know what they were saying, even though they were being told something that they had not previously known. And both Hooker and Gaethje together were talking about the fact that this is a title. And they were using that word. And it's powerful. It has a significance within our sport, but that's not the power of it. That's the history of it. The power of it is it has a definition within your contract. You guys might remember a night that Eddie Alvarez and Justin Gaethje fought for the title of UFC's most violent man. Do you remember that? I loved it. I loved it. I mean, it even had a nostalgic feel to it for me because it brought back memories of Ken Shamrock. Remember, he was the most violent. So now they're going to fight for the Ken Shamrock's behind us. And now we're going to have the new most violent man. But it's not world's most violent man. It's UFC most violent man. Like, it just worked. Everything about it worked. I found out days before that fight. I mean, it was for sure the week of. It was Wednesday. It was Thursday. It was right before the fight. I found out days before that Eddie Alvarez made that up. That Eddie Alvarez was doing an interview and said it, and somebody else, like me, thought it was real and went with it. And it got to Justin Gaethje, who's doing an interview, who drops it. And we all think they're fighting for the title of the UFC's most violent man. Now, the organization didn't come out and back that. Big deal. They did not call it a title. Big deal, because that's a legal term. It was not coming with a medal, let's say, like the Olympics, or a trophy, let's say, like the NCAA, or a belt, let's say, like we're used to in MMA. And it wasn't backed by the company, which is relevant, because how a commission will act towards a title match and whether a title match is even at stake is at the direction of the organization, right? But they must disclose it to the commission. If you don't understand that, it's okay. Just trust me when I tell you it's a big deal. It's a big deal just because it means different things. Not everything means something, right? Not everything we say means something. And then there's other things that do. There's things that do, and they do carry over to a contract with legal terms. And this would be one of them. A title which has the right, per the commission, to be determined. If we're going to do a title, it has the right to be determined by the promotion. Let me go on a little bit of a different angle, okay? My partner Ryan asked me, he said, Chael, if you're going to do this piece, speak clearly to the audience. Do not beat around the bush. There's no point of it. Speak clearly to them. I'm trying. I realize I'm failing, but I'm 90% there. I am doing a little word game with about 10% of this. I get it, but I'm trying not to. Just imagine a scenario of this. You have the world champion. Throw one at me. Throw a world champion at me. Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is getting ready to fight. We got a press conference. It's going to be Izzy versus Duplessis. We got the press conference set up. We got the people set up. Izzy's the first to speak. Izzy welcomes everybody to the room and then lets them know, just in case they weren't aware, the title is not on the line. And people would laugh. Dana White would laugh. Duplessis everybody would laugh. And Israel said, no, I'm being serious. Title's not on the line. And you can either agree with that and understand that now. I'll still fight him 5 rounds. I'll fight him in the main event. I'll do all the things. You can agree to the fact that the title's not on the line right now, or I'm going to miss weight. Just so you know, I'm going to miss it by 1/10 of a pound, which will then enact and roll over. I mean, it's one of these things. It's silly. It's ridiculous what I just said, right? It's ridiculous. It's never been done. As a matter of fact, it was attempted to be done, and it was laughed at. That was by my own good buddy, Anderson Silva, who got called on 2 days' notice to board a jumbo jet, get to Las Vegas, fight at 205 pounds against Daniel Cormier, the reigning champion of the world. And Anderson said, I will do all of those things. That is a match that I am not going to win. At a weight class that I don't compete at, on a card that I have not prepared for, I'll do it. but I'm only going to do it for 3 rounds. And he was told, we can't do it for 3 rounds. If you do it for 3 rounds, it's not a title fight. This guy's the champion. You're doing it at the championship weight class. This is a title fight. He says, I'll only do it for 3 rounds. If you want this favor, man, we can do it for 3 rounds. They said, but what if you beat him? What if you beat Daniel Cormier? You won't become champion. And Anderson said, yeah, everybody will know that I am champion. And that got dismissed because, no, we won it. It's either a title fight or it's not. But do you see the history of these things? Do you see how hard to believe that would be if Israel Adesanya went to a press conference, agreed to a match, and said, but it's not a title fight? Do you understand how hard that is for you to accept? Okay. You understand that George Masvidal did that very thing, correct? You understand that George Masvidal was the BMF champion. You understand he showed up to a press conference at that same weight, in that same placement for that same amount of rounds, but he didn't put the title up. Do you understand that or not? You then have the information that Dan Hooker has revealed. Now you have that information. You have the statements made by Gaethje yesterday. This is a tremendous, right? And they just laid it out for you. But Hooker had said it in question form. He revealed the information, but he put a question mark on the back of it. And you got to stand back and go, but how's there a question? It just happened. The name was George Masvidal. It just happened. So, if one champion can compete and not put up the championship belt, why can't another? Why could a guy not be feeling quite to his best and he doesn't want to quite risk it as much and he agrees to do everything except put up the belt? That's not how we do things. I'm not moving in that direction, but before you laugh at me and tease me and tell me that could never be done and would never be done, it was just done in the form of George Masvidal.